And nothing just happens, so there's a lot of work with it.
I would like to congratulate our graduates on the slowest entrance in the history of Bais Yaakov worldwide. We are here tonight to celebrate a shared simcha of the culmination of the studies and the accomplishments of our graduates. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce for meetings someone who ultimately shoulders the burden day after day, week after week, year after year, and decade after decade of keeping our doors open. Rabbi Newberger is a person of unusual and exceptional compassion. His concern really reaches every student in our school. He is a person with a ready ear for parents, members of the community, for any way in which the standards of our school could be raised, or the standards of Yiddishkeit in our community. It's a pleasure for me to introduce President of Bais Yaakov, Rabbi Ari Newberger.
Parents, grandparents, friends, most importantly, come a long way. Your class, dear graduates, is a relatively small one, but it is nevertheless quite a bit larger than the entire high school was when the first class graduated. This is true of all the dozens of Bais Yaakov single high schools all over the country and the world. Yiddishkeit is Baruch Hashem blooming, but we are still the few and not the many. We are still in the sea of indifference and even sometimes antagonism to know. Klal Yisrael is here referred to as the daughters of Zion. The feminine is used quite often in this way. This brings to mind the love and blessings that the assurance given to women is greater than that given to men. This certainly leads one to the well-known chazal that in the merit of righteous women, our forefathers were redeemed from Zion. The Haftarah ends with assurance that even size and numbers will be of great note. The building of the second Beis HaMikdash had just begun and had not advanced significantly when it was halted. The Navi again proclaimed in the name of Hashem, do not despair, do not be intimidated by lack of size and number. On this original stone, on this inauspicious beginning, there will develop what will be cheered for its size and beauty. Go forth and continue to grow and make all of us proud of you and you of yourselves and of one another. Go secure with the knowledge that the future is assured. Well,
thank you very much, Rabbi Hilberger. For the first valedictory address in Ivrit Lashon Kodesh, I'd like to call upon Lev Chaya Shaptovitz.
המודל מחדש של בית יעקב, מורות, רבנים, הורים, קרובים, ידידים וחברותיי המסיימות. קודם כל, עלינו להודות ולהלל להשם יתברך שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו בזמן הזה, לחגוג יחד שמחת סיום זו, בתום 12 שנים טובות ומבורכות. שנים המלאות ברכה והצלחה בחינוך הנעלה של בית יעקב. שנים של עלייה רוחנית בקניית האמונה השלמה, יראת שמיים טהורה ואהבת השם יתברך. שנים של חברה ידידות בתוך קבוצות חברות טובות ויקרות. שנים שבהן גדלנו והתבגרנו להיות בחורות מוכנות להיכנס לסביבות נשי החיים, אשר הן הינה יסוד בית ישראל, ובהן תלוי עתיד האומה הישראלית. אשרינו מה טוב חלקנו, שזכינו להיות מתלמידות בית יעקב. אילו פינו מלא שירת חיה, אין אנו מספיקים להודות ולהלל על כל זאת, ובקיצור, נגיד רק ברוך השם על הכל. אנו אסירות תודה להורינו היקרים, ועל כל העזרה והסיוע שנתנו לנו בכל עת, ובעבור כל האהבה והסבלנות בחינוכנו במשך כל השנים האלו. ואף עם כל מה שלמדנו בבית יעקב, לא היינו יכולות להגיע עד הלום, לולא האווירה שספגנו בבית הורינו היקרים. וכעת, כאשר אנו עומדות על סף הבית, לצאת מבית חינוכנו זה, מבית יעקב, הרי זה דומה קצת לעת אשר עמדו אבותינו, לנסוע מבית חינוכם הראשון, בצבא ארון ומחנה ישראל מהר סיני, לאחר שנשתהו אצל הר אלוקים כ12 חודש. בפרשת במדבר נצטווינו על צורת מחנה ישראל, כמו שנאמר, איש על דגלו באותות לבית אבותם יחנו בני ישראל, מנגד סביב לו אל מועד יחנו. ושם נאמר, כאשר יחנו כן ייסעו, ובלשון פירוש רש"י, הליכתם כחנייתם, כל דגל מהלך ברוח הקבועה לו, והלווים והעבודות נושאי המשכן באמצע. כך נכתבים שם. והתורה מתארת בפרשת בעלותך כאשר מסופר על אודות נסיעתן הראשונה מהר סיני, נראה שלא הלכו בצורת מחנה ישראל סביב למשכן, אלא בשורה ישרה אחת, שבט אחר שבט, והתורה מתארת דגל מחנה בני דן מעשה לכל המחנות, שהלך באחרונה בסוף השורה. ושם פירש רש"י שיש מי שאומר שכתיבה היו מלאכים, כמו שנאמר בפרשת במדבר, כאשר יחנו כן ייסעו. ויש מי שאומר שכקורח היו מלאכים בשורה אחת, כמו שנאמר בפרשת בעלותך, מעשה לכל מחנות. ויש לפרש שאילו ואילו דברי אלוקים קרים, שניהם אמת, ואין כאן מחלוקת או סתירה, שצורת מחנה ישראל סביב אוהל מועד היא להראות שמקום השראת השכינה, האוהל אשר בתוכו ארון הקודש ולוחות הברית, הוא עיקר הכל, הנקודה המרכזית, אשר כל שאר חיינו סובבים סביבו. כך היו כל עת חנייתם אצל הר סיני, וכך נצטרכו להמשיך להיות גם בעת הליכתם במדבר. היו כטבע, כאשר יחנו סביב לאוהל מועד ולתיבת הארון הקודש, כן ייסעו, להיות כן תמיד, וכל אשר ילכו עיקר הכל, התורה שכתבו בסיני. אבל למעשה לא כן עשו. לא רצו להמשיך עוד ללמוד מהר סיני, ונסעו ממנו כתינוק הבורח מבית הספר. כמו שהביא רש"י בסרטי חכמים, שזו הייתה הפורענות הראשונה שלפני המתאוננים והמתאהבים בקברות התאווה. ותינוקות הבורחים מבית הספר אינם הולכים בצורה קבועה כתיבה, אלא רצים בבהלה מפתח בית הספר, זה אחר זה כשורה. כך לא רצו להמשיך עוד במעמד הר סיני, השמורה בצורת התיבה, וברחו לעזוב המקום המקודש, ומאז התחילו ליפול בכמה מעשים רעים שנענשו עליהם, אשר לזה מרמזת התורה, מעטה של פורענות לאוזני התורה. עזיבה זו, דרך בריחה היא של תינוקות, מתוך ילדותיות ובהלה, בלי מחשבת הכנה לאן נוסעים ואיך הולכים, ומבקשים רק לעזוב מצבם הישן ולמצוא מצב חדש, כאילו המקודש יותר הוא תמיד טוב יותר. זוהי דרך של תינוק הבורח מבית הספר, וסופה ירידה רחמנא ליצלן. אבל דרכם של חכמים ואנשים מבוגרים היא להתנהל ביישוב הדעת, להתבונן במה שיש בידם, ולהיות שמחים לחלקם. וגם כאשר אומרים בפתח שינוי מצב, אינם עוזבים וזורקים את העבר, אלא משתדלים לשמור בידם ולקחת עמהם המעלות שרכשו במצב שיוצאים ממנו, ומתוך כך להיות מוכנים לרכוש עוד יותר בעתיד. היינו כנסיעה כתיקונה, כתיבה, כאשר הסתכלו לראשונה דרך הנביאה לידי עלייה תמידית. איזה ליבון נזקק הוא זה לנו, כעת אשר אנו עומדות על נתן הבית, בית יעקב, מחנה קדוש בסביבת מלמדים ומורות יקרים ונכבדים, שזכינו ללמוד מהם דרכי חיים בנתיב התורה הקדושה. 12 שנים אלו בבית יעקב הם לנו מעין דוגמת 12 חודש ששהינו אצל הר סיני. ובנסיעתנו כעת נשתדל לשמור בידינו את אשר למדנו פה ולהמשיך לקיים את מצוות התורה, ולא נצא מכאן כתינוקות הברכות מבית הספר חלילה, ובזה נישא ונלך באור השם, אלופתנו כפניותינו, כתיבה ולא כתורה, בעזרת השם. ואסיים בתפילה, שניקח עמנו כל מה שלמדנו בבית יעקב, כל התורה, המידות הטובות, והשקפות החיים שקיבלנו מלמדינו וממורתנו, יחד עם כל מה שהורינו לימדו אותנו, ונלך בחיינו בדרך השם יתברך. וכל שנעשה בחיינו, ובכל מקום שנלך, השם ותורתו יהיו עיקר חיינו ומרכז מעשינו. נמשיך בעזרת השם יתברך הלאה, בדרך זו שלנו בבית יעקב, והורינו, מורינו ומורותינו ירבו ממנו הרבה נחת לאורך ימים ושנים טובות. אמן.
Thank you very much, Leah. That was really beautiful. Jennifer Breitbart.
Esteemed Annapolis, Rabbi Cooper, Rabbi Plum, directors of Bais Yaakov, Rabbanim, teachers, parents, family, friends, and fellow graduates. Our modern society reflects the struggle of man to dominate his environment. Man spends his time and energy attempting to acquire and control objects that surround him. Is this such a worthy goal as to be the all-consuming effort it has become? Think about it. To have more, to control more, neither means to be more. The goal should not be to acquire, but to give. Not to control, but to share. Nothing from this physical world accompanies a man when his time expires. The perishable nature of time cannot be mitigated by the exercise of dominion or the amassing of objects. Time is the measure of life. If we waste our time, we waste our lives. If we understand the value of time, we will have a better chance of putting it to good use. The Torah enjoins us to become cognizant of the value of time. In fact, the very first mitzvah given to Am Yisrael was Kiddush HaKodesh, the mandate to sanctify time. Another early mitzvah was Sfirat HaOmer. Hashem commanded, count your days. Take stock of your day's accomplishments. Keep a record of your spiritual progress. Previously, our time had belonged to the Egyptian masters. Now, Bnei Israel were free, and time belonged to them. The first step in becoming a nation was to count Sfirat HaOmer and learn the importance of the sanctification of time. We have just finished the Sfira between Pesach and Shavuot. Unbeknownst to many of you, another Sfira took place in the halls of Bais Yaakov. It too has just ended. The seniors of 1996 have been counting down the days until today, our graduation, the days until our freedom. this counting, but a serious aspect as well. During our school year, time has not been our own. We had a set schedule, a place to be, at an appointed hour, and we had assignments to complete. Our lives had been governed by routine. Now, we have discretion and freedom to plan our time. I propose that counting begin anew after graduation, at the onset of our newly acquired freedom. We should not only count our days, but our days should count. We have to arrange our days, our weeks, our years. As with B'nai Israel, it is of vital importance that we value time and use it wisely. What should we do with our allotted time? We must use it to be B'kadei Shem Shemayim, to sanctify God's name. We must seize every moment as an opportunity and direct our activity toward a godly purpose. By sanctifying time in this way, we will be sanctifying our lives. In this manner, every day will be counted as time well spent. The Torah tells us how important it is to envelop our lives with Kedusha. This week's parsha, Bahalosa, begins with the subject of lighting the menorah. Rashi asks, what is the connection between the parsha of the menorah and the parsha of the Nisim? Why is Aaron's commandment to light the menorah directly preceded by the discussion of the Nisim, the princes, giving their donations for the Mishkan in Parshat Nazal? Rashi answers with the Medrash. When Aaron saw the Hanukkah Hanasim, the dedication of the princes, he experienced a Halishat Das. His mind and heart grew faint, since neither he nor his Shevet, his tribe, had been a part of this dedication. So Hashem said to him, what you will do is greater than what they did, for you, Aaron, will light the menorah. The Ramban has trouble understanding Rashi's explanation. Why does Hashem comfort Aaron with the fact that he will light the menorah? There are so many other important jobs that Aaron will perform. Why isn't he comforted with the fact that he will be the one to bring the korbanos? He will be the one to do the avodah of Yom Kippur. He will be the one to enter the holiest of holies, the Kodesh HaKodashim. How can one explain Rashi? A look at Perek Dalet in Zechariah, the Haftorah of the Parsha, gives the answer. While Zechariah is receiving the Nebuah, a model wakes him from his sleep and asks him, what do you see? Zechariah replies, I see a menorah of gold with 7 lamps, and there are 2 olive trees beside it. Troubled by the meaning of his vision, he asks, what is the symbolism behind these objects that I see? The model replies, Lo B'chayo, V'lo B'choah. He is a Muchli, Amar Hashem, not by military force and not by physical strength, but by my spirit, says Hashem. So how did the model explain the symbolism behind the menorah? It is the vessel that represents the spirit and eternal presence of Hashem. According to Rashi, Hashem was saying to Aaron, why are you experiencing a Halishat Das because you didn't participate in the building of the Mishkan? Why are you upset because you were not involved in donating gold and silver, in making the utensils or in building the Aron? Your job will supersede all of that. You, Aaron, will take the Mishkan and charge it with my spirit. Your job is to light the menorah. In other words, Aaron's contribution was the most important. We should enhance our lives with Kedusha just as Aaron completed the Mishkan in this manner. Bais Yaakov has been a shared experience for all of us. We have progressed from our 6th grade Mount Malachi project to our 12th grade Halacha class, where we delve into more complicated Halacha Shabbos. We have gone from stumbling over letters of Rashi to analyzing complicated Rambam. We have expanded our horizons throughout our elementary and high school years. We have a foundation of knowledge from which we can acquire more. Yet knowledge alone is not enough. Yes, in Bais Yaakov we have studied, but more importantly, we have been nurtured in the spirit of Hashem, infused with a special Kedusha that will allow us to continue our growth even after we graduate. How have we been inculcated with this Kedusha? How has it become a part of us? The answer lies in the educational methodology and guidance of our mentors, teachers, and parents. We have not only been taught values, but have lived these values because theory has been accompanied by practice. We have learned not only through books, but through examples. Not every class has stimulated each and every one of us, and not every teacher has been a favorite of every student, but each one of us has found many to emulate. Yaakov experience. They were what the school instilled. And friends, we have grown by learning from each other. We have also grown as a group. We have learned a powerful lesson that is a strength in also in unity. How else does one explain the enormous success of the Bais Yaakov convention? It was a result of the harnessing of our collective spirit, effort, and product. Our task in life is to be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim, to sanctify God's name. Sanctification of our own lives will lead to the sanctification of His name. We sanctify our own lives by mastering the art of being Mekadesh time. If we realize that we are alive a certain amount in this world to accomplish our goals, each minute will be utilized to its fullest and surrounded with Kedusha. The class of 96 must be remembered as a class whose goal is to give, not acquire, whose goal is to share and not control. Our deeds will be measured by how well we have spent the precious gift of time we have been granted. It is our hope and prayer that we may offer you the counseling upon graduation, living our lives while valuing our time, so we may become productive members of the Bais Israel. The Kedusha we assimilated in Bais Yaakov will spread and engulf our lives and others until the great day. Umallah Ara Seyah et Hashem Kamayim Layam Hasim. When the land will be full of knowledge of Hashem, as water covers the sea.
You convinced me. Come now to the favorite part of the program. It has been a tradition here that the diplomas are awarded and handed to the students by Mrs. Bessie Salkin, who was a daughter of the late Eva Weiner, whose name was given to the high school, the Bais Yaakov Eva Weiner High School. She was a true Ashes Chayil, a noble woman, a woman of nobility. And we are happy to carry her name, to have the family continue to be involved in the graduation ceremony. I would like to ask you, please, to cooperate with us. We encourage you to applaud as much as you like to for each graduate, but kindly refrain from any other forms of recognition so that we maintain the kavod, the dignity of this program. Thank you.
Olga Vitesh.
Dora Isby. Michelle Schluster. Yoni Reicher. Rachel Haber. Suri Cohn. Bailey Justin. Anna Weiss. Sarah Prager. Elka Porter. Malka Sackett. Miriam Friedman. Shoshana Brown. Yehuda Spencer. Rivka Weinrich. Mimi Wally. Anna Wilmer. Gila Villegas. Laura Taberstein. Shoshana Friday. Michal Lefkowitz. Shoshana Steinmeier. Tamara Chavez. Dina Messing. Michal Newberg. Dina Goldstein. Perhaps the tallest graduate, Miriam Cohn. Graduates from Philadelphia, Scranton, Georgia, Mexico, Russia, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Chile. I'm also happy to tell you that each graduate, in fact, got her own diploma, that it was lined up beforehand, and it worked. Hashem Yireh L'Leikov. Only Hashem Yisbarach can ultimately measure the true madrega of an individual, and who are people of truly great caliber. Baruch Hashem, we have in our class in Bais Yaakov many people of exceptional caliber. Each year, the faculty, together with the administration, seeks to find 2 people of many who are considered suitable ambassadors for the class to speak on their behalf to us, parents, teachers, and friends, and fellow graduates. These are people, among others, who embody the ideals of school and of our community. Torah and Avodas Hashem, concern for friends, concern for all of Klal Yisrael, chesed and emes, the goals that we all strive for together. I am happy to present to you first for the presentation, for the message, Ms. Sarabela Estreicher from Atlanta, Georgia.
Esteemed Menahalim, Rabbi Huber, Rabbi Flam, Directors of Bais Yaakov, Rabbanim, teachers, parents, family, friends, and fellow graduates. Modim Anachnu La. This deceptively simple concept served as the theme of our Bais Yaakov convention this past November. Throughout life, there are so many people to whom we must show Hakarat HaTov, and so many things for which we must be moda. The concept of Hakarat HaTov is to be makir Tov, to recognize the good that one has. In Parshat Creation, Parak Aleph, Pasuk Aleph, it is written, Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, v'hinei tov me'od. And Hashem saw all that he made, and behold, it was very good. Rabbi Avigdor Miller comments on this pasuk that when one is not aware of what he has, he is poor. He brings the mashal of one who buys a lot of land and builds a house upon it. 30 years later, he receives a call and is informed that there is a treasure hidden on his lot. Upon hearing this, he is overwhelmed with joy. In truth, he has owed the treasure for the past 30 years. But what has made him so happy is the knowledge of his possession. When one is not aware of what he has, or does not fully understand the true nature of what he possesses, then he, in truth, does not possess it. Therefore, when Hashem gave us the world, he told us that everything he created was tov ma'od, very good. The lesson of the importance of being makir tov is one that we can apply throughout our lives. In every situation, we must work on focusing on what we do have, on the value of that which has been bestowed upon us, and we must express our appreciation. At a time such as this, when we are graduating from Bais Yaakov, there is so much to reflect upon, and so many aspects of our experiences here that cause us to be overwhelmed with gratitude. I would like to spend a few moments focusing on one aspect of my Bais Yaakov experiences that has been specifically meaningful to me. Baruch Hashem, throughout these past 4 years at Bais Yaakov, I have acquired many caring and devoted friends. It is to you, my dear classmates, that I feel a tremendous amount of Hakarat HaTov for your guidance, support, warmth, and friendliness. I have gained from each one of you and have learned from your actions, words, and deeds. Unfortunately, as a class, we have been through many trying times together. As we struggle to understand, we grew closer to one another. The caring and concern that was apparent, as well as the continuous searching to improve our ways, were inspirational in and of themselves. Baruch Hashem, we shared many joyous times. For any family similar, you displayed enthusiastic joy toward whomever was involved. Your sensitivity, excitement, and warmth made my experience at Bais Yaakov very special. Of course, our school has been the vehicle for us, aiding us and allowing us to grow both in our service of Hashem and our closeness to one another. We have spent many days here learning and growing in many ways. Our principals, Rabbi Bais and Rabbi Shapiro, and all of our teachers have shown us guidance and care. They stood by our side in preparation for our convention, as well as for other activities that we enjoy. We have them to thank for the many lessons we learned, which often did not really come out of books. We have them to thank for many of the treasured times we shared under the roof of this school. Yet, the chain of Hakarat Hatou can go back much further. It can extend to Sarah Schneerer, who began the Bais Yaakov movement, and to ancestors who removed their nefesh for the sake of Yiddishkeit. They enabled Bais Yaakov to be what it is today. Mesiras Nefesh brings to mind our beloved parents, who truly removed their nefesh to provide us with our Bais Yaakov experience. Throughout our years here, they expressed great interest in our learning and activities. Any gratitude expressed for them would be inadequate, for their devotion and concern for our growth has been tremendous. Our utmost appreciation must be directed to the Ribono Shel Olam, who is the source of all bracha. Chasdei Hashem ki lo samnu, ki lo halu rachamav. The kindnesses of Hashem, they do not end, for his compassion never ceases. So, as our graduation is finally here, this is a time for celebration. Yet, more importantly, this is a time for reflection.
Tomorrow Shabbos.
Teachers, parents, family, friends, and fellow graduates. We recently celebrated the holiday of Shavuot, the Yom Tov that commemorates the greatest day in the history of mankind, when Hashem revealed himself to the Jewish nation at Har Sinai in order to give us the Torah. The day of Matan Torah was only the beginning of a process. Moshe was required to ascend to heaven for 40 days and 40 nights in order to learn the Torah directly from Hashem and to transmit it to Klal Yisrael. Moshe ascended, and then, on the very day that he was destined to return with the Torah, our nation sinned in a grievous fashion. They made for themselves a golden calf. This act occurred nearly 40 days after God's revelation at Sinai, where the Jewish nation heard directly from their Creator, "Lo ta'aseh Pesach. Thou shalt not make for yourself a graven image." The Jewish people bowed down and danced around the image of an animal. What happened? An explanation of why this sad event occurred is derived from the pasuk in which Hashem describes the Yisrael. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, v'nisi es ha'am hazeh, l'hinei am kashay b'rachu. Hashem said to Moshe, "I have observed these people, and behold, they are a stiff-necked nation." At first glance, this pasuk appears to be out of context. The term Am Sheor is usually understood to mean a stubborn nation. The obvious question is, why would a stubborn tree cause a nation to worship idols? I believe the term Sheor should be defined literally as stiff-necked. A person suffering from a stiff neck has an impediment that prevents the person from turning sideways and especially from turning his head around to look person only looks at what is ahead of him without taking into consideration his past experiences may also be described as suffering from a stiff neck. B'nai Yisrael faced a terrible crisis in the desert. According to their calculations, Moshe should have returned from heaven. But B'nai Yisrael looked into the future. They were concerned and felt the need to appoint a new leader to take them through the desert. But such conclusions were reached without looking at or comprehending the past. B'nai Yisrael were a nation that released several weeks earlier and left Mitzrayim in the midst of these infinite floods. Klal Yisrael saw the sea split before them, and shortly thereafter stood at Har Sinai. They should never have reacted in such a foolish manner. Much more was expected of them. The message that we learn from this example is both simple and powerful. Our future is closely linked with our past, and it is our responsibility to constantly reflect upon the past when moving forward into the future. This was part of the message that Moshe Rabbeinu imparted to Klal Yisrael in his final Shiva in Parshat Ha'azinu. Hala Hashem Seguluzos Amno Lo Chacham. This is the way to repay God, you ungrateful and unwise nation. And Rashi comments, the Lo Chacham Sheshachaflu Eskav Zoylam. They have forgotten what was done for them. The Lo Chacham, the Habit and Kanolados. And understanding what is to come. The next pasuk continues. The Horim Olam, remember the days long gone by. Binu Shino Starvador, understand the years of each generation. Sh'al Micha V'Yagedcha. Ask your father and have him tell you the Kedecha V'Yorla, and your elders who will explain it. Fellow graduates, we stand here today in a similar position. We are celebrating the many accomplishments and the vast knowledge gained during the past 12 years. However, we also face a new and uncertain future. In order to succeed in our future endeavors, we must apply and learn from our past experiences. On behalf of the class of 96, I wish to thank the superior administration and outstanding faculty of Bais Yaakov of Baltimore. We have learned by example how to conduct ourselves. The personal attention to the individual needs of each student has left an indelible impression upon us. How can we possibly begin to thank our parents? It is as a result of their hard work, devotion, encouragement, and love that we have successfully attained this milestone. There are no words to accurately or completely express our appreciation. Finally, we wish to express personal gratitude to our fellow classmates. We have been privileged to share numerous joyous occasions together. We have also helped one another during difficult periods. The friendships we have formed are greater than precious gems. We hope to be able to continue to build upon the solid foundation provided by Bais Yaakov so that we will successfully live our lives as true B'nai Yisrael and so that we will be a source of nachas to Bais Yaakov, our families, and all of Klal Yisrael.
Thank you very much, Tamara. Many of our graduates in the academic realm have achieved with true distinction, and some of their diplomas contain certificates of honor for the excellent work they have done in school, just as many of them have excelled in the personal realm, as we discussed earlier. However, in each category, one person is selected representing the class and representing our strivings for excellence as a school and as individuals. This time it is my pleasure to call upon Mrs. Bamberger of the Presidium of the Ladies Auxiliary to help with the distribution of the awards, to be followed by Mrs. Rosenbluth representing the PTA. Mrs. Bamberger. present, as I'm presenting these awards, certificates of merit, letters of commendation for the Merit Scholarship Program, the National Merit Scholarship Program, to 4 of our graduates, Miriam Cohn, the Robert Gus Cohn Memorial Award for General Excellence, Leachai Shabbatowitz. Storch Memorial Award for General Excellence, Jennifer Breitbart. The Rabbi Kaper Memorial Award for personifying the ideals of Bais Yaakov, Sarabela Esrai. The Rabbi Kaper Award, tomorrow Shabbos. Parent-Teacher Association Award for Excellence in the Limmudei Kodesh Studies, Shoshana Steinhardt. PTA Award for Limmudei Kodesh Studies, Hannah Weiss. Thank you, Mrs. Bamberger, Mrs. Rosenbluth. The Ladies Auxiliary Award for Excellence in General Studies, Michal Newberger. Ladies Auxiliary Award for General Studies, Ora Taterstein. The Alumna Award for Service on behalf of Torah Ideals, Dina Messing. The letter of commendation by the National Merit Scholarship Program, Michal Lefkowitz. Thank you, Mrs. Rosenbluth. I did not offer a program in journalism per se, but a gift was made to Bais Yaakov a number of years ago in order to advance the cause of writing. The award is the Silver Chain Award for Talent in Journalism, and I'm happy to call up Ms. Ruth Shane to present this award to someone who has been single-handedly responsible for so much journalistic effort that has benefited Bais Yaakov. Please come up, and I'd like to present the award to Miriam Cohn. you. And now for the GEO Student Activities Award, I'd like to call upon the incoming GEO President, Gila Vitek.
Dear Elfie, just a short time ago, you were up here, a newly elected GEO president, and ahead an exciting year. The task that lay ahead of you was too awesome to mention. Imagine running a year of activities and a massive Bais Yaakov convention. Well, here we are in the month of June, with this terrific year behind us. And while we have sweatshirts, Sephira calendars, and other tchotchkes to remind us, we mostly have great memories of hard work and of fun. You, LP, ran this year's GEO and unified everyone. When the milk chips were served with the daily lunch, well, nearly. When the log owner picnic day turned out to be rainy and dreary. You got us through those crises, and believe me, there are more than just those two. You were the one who stayed calm and somehow steered us through. You're always smiling, always patient, and always in control. You're a born leader, whether in a small group or with the school as a whole. I personally thank you for teaching me how to manage and be nice. And I know you won't mind when I call you long distance to get advice. Thanks, Elfie. We'll all miss you.
We often make the error to believe that we have to go to faraway places to find great treasures. There is a great treasure in our city, and that is Yeshivas Ner Yisrael. There is a true treasure in Mechinas Ner Yisrael. I personally have benefited and am happy to be a privileged parent whose son has gained from the infectious enthusiasm, the love for Torah, the love for Avodas Hashem, the love for his Talmidim, of our guest speaker, Rabbi Kalman Weinrich, whose daughter is graduating tonight. It is an honor and a great pleasure for me to introduce Rabbi Weinrich.
Rishus, principals of Nalam, of Bais Yaakov, family, friends, honored guests, and especially Rishus, my daughter Rivki, and her wonderfully inspiring and stunningly well-spoken graduating class of Toshtin Munvot. There was a great Jew who lived at the turn of the century in the city of New York. And his very difficult position was to be the first and final chief rabbi of that city. And that was Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, Zecher Tzaddik Levracha. Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, in those difficult years, at the end of the last century, in a drasha to his kehillah, he quoted to them the pasuk, Ki ner mitzvah v'Torah or. Mitzvah is compared to candlelight, and Torah to the or, which Rabbi Yaakov Yosef describes as the light of the torchlight. And Rabbi Yaakov Yosef explained that in a Ruach Mitzuya, under normal wind conditions, the candle and the torch both do their job efficiently. But in a Ruach She'eina Mitzuya, under turbulent wind conditions, then there's a very different effect. The candle is blown out, snuffed out, whereas the torch not only remains burning bright, but can turn into a literal conflagration. And Rabbi Yaakov continued, and he told his Kehillah, in Europe, in the shtetl, there it was a ruach mitzuya. There it was normal conditions. And there you could thrive with an existence rooted in mitzvahs as well as one rooted in Torah. One would be an ner, one would be an ar, but they would both do their job. But my dear youth, he continued, we now live in America, and we live in a ruach she'ein mitzuya. We live under a very, very turbulent and brutal wind condition. And if all we have to face this world, this life in America, is a commitment to mitzvahs, without mostes ha'tayra v'chinuch, so then our way of Jewry will not survive far into the turn of the century. But if we will commit ourselves to building Torah and to building the mostes of Torah, then not only will we continue into the 20th century, but we will spread our presence from coast to coast. Those words of Rabbi Yaakov Yosef were stunningly prophetic, and we see their results today. There was a meeting, an encounter between two Gedolei Yisrael in the years after World War II. Rav Katzkel Sarna, Zecher Tzadik L'Brocha, the Rosh Yeshiva of Hebron, and the Ger Rebbe Zatzal. And Rav Katzkel Sarna asked the Ger Rebbe, who does he consider to be the leader of the generation, the Gadol Hador of the pre-war Europe? And he expected that the Ger Rebbe would answer, perhaps the Chofetz Chaim, perhaps Reb Chaim Ozer, or maybe even the previous Ger Rebbe. But the Ger Rebbe gave none of those answers. Instead, the Ger Rebbe told Rav Katzkel Sarna, I consider the greatest leader of the previous generation to have been Sarah Schneer. For had it not been for her, then all of the gigantic meisim of all of the other Gedolim would have been for naught. It was well known that the Chazon Ish, when he was asked if a city had limited resources, and there was a choice, do they make a Beis Yaakov for the girls, or do they make a yeshiva for the boys? The Chazon Ish's response was, first make the Beis Yaakov. For without the Beis Yaakov, and without the inculcation of those Yesodis of Chinuch, then there will be no use in the Torah of the Yeshivas. The Baltimore of my descendants, my family came to Baltimore before the turn of the century. And my great-grandmother and my grandmother, Olav Hasholem, as well as Yibam L'chaim, the Arichas, Yom Taib, and my mother, they grew up in a Baltimore that was a Baltimore with mitzvahs, but it was a Baltimore without a Beis Yaakov. And it was a Baltimore that faced a very bleak and short-term future. The Baltimore of my daughter and her friends is a very different Baltimore. It's a Baltimore of a spiritual renaissance, a Baltimore that is flourishing in spirituality, in Torah and in Ma'asim Torah. And there is but no question that the presence of the Beis Yaakov has spearheaded and has ensured that future. A Beis Yaakov that is spearheading a paradox, a revolution the young enjoy revolution. And it is a revolution that Bais Yaakov inspires. But it is a revolution of Messiah, of tradition. It is a revolution in our day and age, when there are so many other winds that buffet us, of hemshech, of true Jewish continuity, inspired by the highest ideals of our Torah HaKadosh. But we cannot stop here. The turbulent winds of our society continue to rage uncontrolled. And the words, the immortal words of Rabbi Yaakov Dessler, that he wrote so eloquently to his son in the closing days of World War II, when all of Jewish existence seemed to be questionable and the Jewish future very dim. And he wrote those beautiful words, Chalokim anokim li'olim haba, misgayim lemata ki avonim bachutzais, v'yeini sheyovim lehadiyam. Gigantic portions to olam haba are rolling down in the streets like stones, like rocks, and no one understands to pick them up. People only turn to their own personal profit and their own personal needs. Rabbi Yaakov Dessler was describing a time where those who understood realized the gigantic olam haba that could be acquired by living for the greater good, by living for the development of a fuller and richer Klal Yisrael. And that mission and that challenge continues ad hayom hazeh. And those chalokim anokim li'olam haba continue to be readily available for those who want to acquire. In Parshas Vayakhel, there's a pasuk. The pasuk says, "Vayetzu kol adas b'nei Yisrael milifnei Moshe." All the b'nei Yisrael went out from before the presence of Moshe. And Rav Hutner Zecher Tzadik Levrova asked a beautiful question. He says, the beginning of the parsha says, in the very first words, Vayakhel Moshe kol adas b'nei Yisrael. Moshe gathered all the congregation of Israel. And the parsha continues a few psukim later. Vayidaber Moshe kol adas b'nei Yisrael leimor. And Moshe spoke to all of them, saying, and then his words are recorded. And Rav Hutner asks, if we've been told that all of the Bnei Yisrael were gathered, if we are told that Moshe spoke to all the Bnei Yisrael, and we are given the words of his address, then why do we have to be told at the end that Vayetzu kol adas b'nei Yisrael milifnei Moshe? Of course, when he finished speaking, they left. What else were they to do? Rav Hutner says, the world says, the Welt says, Pshat, that just like when the Bnei Yisrael were gathered before Moshe, and the Bnei Yisrael stood hearing the words of Moshe, Moshe was in front of them, and they felt the presence of Moshe. That was not enough. It would only be worthwhile if Vayetzu kol adas b'nei Yisrael milifnei Moshe. If even when they left, and they were no longer in front of their Rebbe and their inspiring role model of Moshe Rabbeinu, if even after that, all their actions, their words, their deeds continue to ring true to that of the presence of Moshe, then it would be a success. Vayetzu kol adas b'nei Yisrael milifnei Moshe. Even afterwards they remain lifnei Moshe. And so too, of our wonderful group of graduates this night, it has been a uplifting and inspirational evening. Words of every one of the graduates, on behalf of all the other graduates, are words that all of us can take and inculcate into our own lives. And there is no question but that our hope and our aspiration from this wonderful, wonderful group is that they should be able tonight to Bais, to go out, that whole entire entourage, that whole entire group of the Neshomas Yikoros, of Chashuvos, and they should continue to emulate that which they've been taught, that which they've been guided and led in those paths, and they should continue to be Livnei, their Menachem and their Bais, Livnei, the whole spirit and the whole ideology that Sarah Schneer began and continues in the Bais Yaakov movement, Ad Hayom. Let us just end with the bracha from the words of David HaMelech. Yelchu mechayil el koyil. They should go from one spiritual strength, from one soaring majesty of development and growth, el koyil, to yet more strength. And ultimately, Yeroah el Elokim Patzion. They should be zeichet to be seen along with all of Klal Yisrael before Elokim Patzion.
Very much, Rabbi Weinrib, for your very powerful and inspiring words. Message to the graduates. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the faculty of Bais Yaakov, and I know and am confident that with the passing of time, our graduates will come to see more and more how truly fortunate they are to have such an outstanding group of teachers so dedicated to your welfare in every way. Thank you very much. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Rabbi Vitzik, who is a long-time member of the Bais Yaakov and who is celebrating tomorrow's graduation in her honor. Welcome, Rabbi Vitzik. I'd like to express special mazel tov wishes to the family of our very dedicated Rabbi Mendel Friedman and family for the graduation of Henny tonight. We all are achieving so much. We are happy to be able to share your synagogue. What do you think it would feel like to come back here? Wait, this is long. In about 35 or 40 years and celebrate the graduation from Bais Yaakov of your granddaughter. We have a first tonight. There is someone sitting in this audience who is above me, who was among the first graduates of Bais Yaakov, whose daughter graduated Bais Yaakov, and whose granddaughter is graduating Bais Yaakov tonight. Please check under your seat for the number. No. That is none other than Mrs. Steinberg. Mazel tov. Mazel tov to the Steinberg family, to the Weiss family, and may we see continued simcha and nachas from everyone in the family. Welcome to all of you. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Rabbi Zev Katz, the principal of Yeshiva High School of Silver Spring. We're very happy that you came to join us. Thank you. I overlooked mentioning at the graduation dinner a special new scholarship offered by Irene and Alan Goldberg, the Marilyn and Richard Lowenstein Memorial Award for Achievement to help a student financially with a year of post-high school education, and that is being awarded to a needy student. The gift this year was several $100, and there will be a gift every year. They also mentioned that at the dinner, and I did want to mention it tonight. There will be a minion from Myra right after graduation in room 167, which is the first classroom in the high school wing on the right side, opposite the davening room. It is now 7 to 9. The depending on how the graduates leave the auditorium, I would guess that Myra will be about 9:45. Change the venue. Myra will take place in the library. I missed something because there was no certificate. Connie Weiss was also a National Merit Scholarship semifinalist multiple times. Please rise in honor of the graduates for the recession.